Again, please make sure your cell phones are turned off. Don't forget the Ashland College will be in the registration room for your college credit if you choose to do that. You can register with them. If you haven't voted, please vote, especially for Region 13 Director. We'll be counting those votes here in a few hours. Please make sure you visit our vendors. As I said last night, they supply and do a lot for our association and allow us to put clinics on like this, our 7-on-7, and our All-Star game. Don't forget about the banquet tonight, 7 o'clock. We are very honored as an association to again honor one of our own on the cover of our program this evening, Coach Earl Bruce. Very special man, and he's been a big contributor to our association and Ohio football coaches. Well, without further ado, gentlemen, you came to here this morning. Very proud that again another coach from the state of Ohio with Ohio roots, one of our own, and we are very pleased to have him this morning at our banquet, being our kickoff speaker this morning, or at our clinic, but also very proud and pleased that he is the head coach of the Ohio State University, Coach Urban Meyer.
Thank you. I'm very much honored to represent the Ohio State University and be back home. I grew up in Ashtabula, Ohio, played high school football at Ashtabula, St. John. Had a great experience. I think I'd like to liken our program much more like a high school program than an NFL program. Everything, if you ever come and really study who we are and what we do, it was all formulated by my experience as a high school coach. At St. X, worked for Steve Rasso, but even more than that, playing for a guy named Paul Kopko in Northeast Ohio. The town shut down. The great robberies with Harbor Edgewood, and just I feel an obligation now, and the more I even I'm just taking a year off, I feel an obligation to our players to give them the same experience that I had. Football's been great to me. John Gruden, one of my great friends, says the one thing about football is never sleep on it. It's one of the great quotes I had in my off season this past year, is just learning and trying to study as much football as possible. Never sleep on the game of football, because it'll wake up and it'll bite you right in the ass someday. The game never changes, kids never change, and you have to have great love for the game. So a year off really helped me to really reflect, think about a lot of things, evaluate a lot of things, and I hate to say it's just crystal clear because football really is never crystal clear. However, this is about as clear thinking as I've ever been as far as how I want our program to be run. And a lot of it has to do with being back in the great state of Ohio. I had an opportunity to go visit a lot of schools throughout the off-season. The ESPN was great. They said, go do what you want to do. And there's a lot of programs as your head coach in college. You don't get a chance to go visit many places. You're in a cocoon with your own program. And paranoia, which I've been known to be very paranoid about a program. We had a lot of success, and I didn't want to share anything with our program. And I didn't want anybody in, and I didn't want anybody out. So I felt we had a great thing going. I was worried that someone would take some of our stuff. However, the year off gave me a chance to go visit different places. Went to Oregon, went to Texas, Oklahoma. Guys that I have great respect for, and start studying the game. And more than studying the game, studying how and why. How does Oklahoma, how does that coach, by the way, an Ohio guy, how does that guy have the consistency year in, year out? And then I went out to Oregon. And my point in bringing that up is, and I'm going to talk about this here in a minute, the one common denominator of every program isn't the spread offense, isn't the West Coast, isn't the I formation, isn't the wishbone wing T, because they're all different. Mac Brown can't be more different than Chip Kelly. They're extremely, they walk in the room and they just look different, act different, talk different, and have different styles about what they do. Just like when you go visit a great high school program, you go to one, you go to the other, like, that is so different than this. However, at the end of the day, the common denominator is alignment of staff. And that's something I've been very blessed. I've been a head coach for 10 years, and I'm very proud to say this. I've hired the best football coaches maybe in the history of college football. In 2005, we put a staff together in Florida that to this date, you know, I mean, the one thing about our profession, your profession, our profession, it's evaluation friendly. It's this or it's this. This, carry on, move forward. This, you got to find a new job. It's real easy. It's not like some of the bankers, how's your day today, honey? Well, I don't know. What'd you do today? Well, you can't really be evaluated. We're evaluated every day. And the one thing about coaching staffs, the one that I was able to put together, more wins in a 4-year period than any school in SEC history. 3 13-1 seasons out of 4 years, more kids in the National Football League, more first-round draft picks, Heisman Trophy, 2 national titles, da-da-da-da-da. More importantly than all that, I've had 11 guys go on to be head football coaches. We had one last night speaking, Tim Beckman. And I sit back there as like a proud father because, first of all, he does it the right way, follows the rules, and he's very involved in all his players' lives. I learned that from the guy you're going to probably hear tonight speak. We're honoring Coach Earl Bruce. So, to recap what I just said, what is our program? Our program is very similar to what I grew up in Asheville, St. John. A head coach and a group of assistants that care deeply about their players. They're going to grind them, they're going to push them, they're going to know everything about them. I was able to become a graduate assistant for Earl Bruce. I still get very nervous. He's 80 years old. I'm still scared to death of the guy's going to ask me about one of my former players. I want to think about who they're dating, what kind of class scores, what kind of grades they're getting in their classroom. So our program, if you came down and spent time with us, it reflects those programs, and it all started here in the great state of Ohio. It took me a minute to get back, but I'm awful proud to be here and see old friends and look forward to meeting many new. With that said, I know Jim Trussell a friend of mine did a fabulous job opening doors to the State High School Coaches Association and everyone here. And we're going to do that and even try to enhance it. We're going to do the best job we can. The answer is yes. You got a question, the answer is yes. Come on down, doors are open, sit in meetings, whatever we can do, we're all in this together. There's a couple of coaches I guess pissed off that we're recruiting some in-state guys to stay home. I got news, we're going to recruit them harder to stay home. So for those guys pissed, here's a little message. We're going to come at you even harder. We're not going to leave the state if we can do anything about it. Because I believe in Ohio, this is my home. I hired a group of coaches I'm going to introduce in a minute that have Ohio ties, a bunch of them, and we have great respect for the way those kids are raised here in the state of Ohio. And we're going to come after them as hard as we can. With that said, I'd like to open up or introduce our coaching staff on defense. A guy you know well, was a great player at Ohio State, and I keep hearing about what a great job he did. He's a Buckeye and a good person and all that. The thing I don't hear enough of is he's a great football coach. That's why he's continued to be on our staff. And that's our defense coordinator. Honored to have him be part of our staff, Luke Fickle. He was interim head coach in North Carolina. He's one of the best secondary coaches, probably the best interview I've ever had as far as a guy comes in and his knowledge of back-end play. Very well respected. I don't believe Everett is here, but our co-D coordinator is Everett Withers. Our defensive line coach is a guy that played, Bill Belichick's a very close friend, and I had a chance to, he's a one-year coach. He's never really coached, has a lot of experience. But Super Bowl rings don't get you a lot of wins in college football. He has 3 Super Bowl rings, but he also studies the game. And I actually tested him for about 2 or 3 weeks. He went out and did a great job recruiting. I am so excited about it. I think he's a future star in this profession. And that's our D-line coach, Mike Grable. And our recent hire is from the state up north. He's a guy that has a lot of experience in this area. He's coached at some of our rival schools. He's also coached at Notre Dame, and just a very well-respected guy. Also has a Super Bowl ring. And he's going to work with our corners, and that's Bill Sheridan. The guy that I have great respect for. We're going to run spread offense. It's going to be very multiple. That term is used very loosely. But he's a guy that I have a lot of respect for, studying the match in the offseason. He's our offense coordinator, quarterback coach, Tom Herman. I wanted to have 2 coordinator-type minds on our offensive staff. He's a guy that was the offense coordinator at Kansas when they won 12 games, went to the Orange Bowl, spent a lot of time at West Point, and most recently at Notre Dame, our offensive line coach, Ed Warner. Florida, was also on Coach Trussell's staff, and our running back coach, Stan Drake. plays for me in Bowling Green, 5 years in Florida, knows exactly what we do. He's played at Dublin, Kaufman High School, and that's Zach Smith. And the last guy, I tried to get guys that had a great passion, they wanted to be, every guy I just mentioned wanted to be here. There was no recruiting. However, this story just tells you about how much this guy wanted to be here. We coached together 25 years ago, I think, something like that, for Coach Earl Bruce. And both of us were new GAs, sitting in the back of the room. And all of a sudden, Earl Bruce comes walking, and I'm like, holy shit, there's Earl Bruce. So everybody were sitting back there, and he comes in, and back in the day now, he brought it. Everybody who knows Earl Bruce, he brought it. And so he comes in, and this is our first meeting, and he was really pissed off about something. And he starts going off and off about toughness, going on and on and on. And you guys don't know toughness. You son of a thing, just, I mean, flipping out on our coaches. I'm not used to this. First time I ever sat there and hit sit next to me. And so, it's a true story, by the way. And so, Coach Bruce is going nuts. He reaches down, grabs a box. He puts the box on top of the table. And once again, the whole theme is about there's no toughness. Our players are a reflection of the coaches, and the coaches have no toughness. So he pulls open, it's like it's one of those wooden boxes, and the slides open, he reaches in, and he pulls out a turtle. It's one of those turtles, a snapping turtle, I guess, something like that. And he unzips his fly. And I'm thinking, what in the shit is he doing? This is major college football, man. Here we go. What is this? Unzips his fly, does his deal, and that turtle bites a hold of him. And I mean, everyone's in his veins, and he's like this. Now that's toughness! Right there, that's toughness! And he's sweating, the thing's holding on to him. And so finally, he reaches down and pops it, takes both fingers like this, hits the turtle in the eyes, and then flops off and starts flopping around on the table. He wipes his forehead, and he says, now which one of you son of a bitches are tough enough to do that? Tim Hidd raises his hand and says, Coach, I'll do that. Just promise not to poke me in the eyes. So I knew Hidd had a love for Ohio State. Kind of bizarre love, but that's right. So with the theme today, there's our spring practice. I'd like to, because I'm in a little bit of a hurry, we have Big Ten meetings here. I apologize, I'm going to run out on you. I'll be back for tonight's banquet. Our coaches will be here all day. And once again, just in your minds, the answer is yes. You want to come down to visit? I'll go to practice. You want to talk? You want film cut-ups? You want whatever? Yes, yes, yes. Greg, where's Greg at? Greg is going to still be our high school relations. Please, Greg, stand up. Is Mark Pantoni here? Mark is also going to work with our high school coaches, and the answer once again is yes. Okay? And that is a true story about Tim Hidd, if you guys have any. Our job and my job as the head football coach is to put a plan together. The plan is very simplistic, so I'm going to go kind of fast with it. The plan is, it's not rocket science. You recruit really good players. If you're lucky, you recruit great ones. It's number 2, hire great coaches. Okay, there you go. Right? If you're writing it down, you don't have to. As everybody knows that. Okay, let's go to the next. Now we're going to put together a plan is not difficult. Execution of the plan is where it takes some effort and some thought. Recruit great players. Number 1, in my experience, 1 year away from football, away from on the field coaching, was I realized how ignorant so many people are about this great game. I hear the criticism about that left-handed quarterback I was so blessed to coach about. I think he drops the ball a little bit. We talked about that, right? I think he does a little bit. However, the competitive nature, competitive spirit of that man is unlike any I've ever seen. So if anybody wants to bet against a guy like that, I'll cover your bet. He will do something magical if given the opportunity. I know you guys have had players like that as well. Go out and recruit a player. Height, weight, size, speed, 40-yard dashes are all very measurables. The immeasurable. Will he reach across the checkers table and try to squeeze the air out of your body if he loses? We want guys like that. So we're going to try to get the high school coach's opinion. That's number 1. Number 2, we're going to watch how he does in the big game. We recruited a tailback from Kent. I was okay with him. Then I found he ran for 300 yards twice against Massillon. Take him. Because the competitive nature has to, maybe it's not there consistently, to do that against that school, you have to be a real guy. That's not against some lower level school that you have much better players in. That's against Massillon. So we took that kid for that reason and that reason alone. So the competitive spirit. Number 2, character. And the way does he have the self-discipline and self-respect to take care of himself? Unfortunately, that's harder and harder to find. How do you find that out? The way you do it up here is you ask a high school coach. We recruited 25 guys this year. I think 16 or 18 came from the state of Ohio. Of all those guys, it was so refreshing to be able to sit and home visit with high school coaches, to be able to recruit the high school coach, the mom, the dad, if he has both of them, and the player. I'm not really interested in the third party, the friend, the mentor, or the guy that has a vested interest in the young person, as they say. So it was really refreshing to come back up here and be able to recruit and have the high school coach with us. Toughness, refuse to come out of the game, even if he's hurt, relentless, and he goes both ways. I love the guy that goes both ways. That obviously makes him more valuable to us because that's a sign of what kind of player. I have this written down. I'm just going to apologize for going fast. Is he the kid that takes the extra step? Right at the end, we refused to take a kid from out of state that was a wide receiver because his extra step was out of bounds. I was very blessed to coach some guys now. Their extra step is to drop their shoulder pads and get that extra 2 yards right through guys. So that's something I force myself to watch. Does he take the extra step? Is he the linebacker that's going to take that extra step, even if it's one of these once in a while? Is he going to put his nose right on a football and take that extra step? Extra step, extra hit. And can he run? It's really hard. I don't mean that to be 4-2. Love 4-2s, but I understand that. Is he play fast on the field, not just track time? In my opinion, our opinion at Ohio State, you have to run. And this quote from Fielding Yost at the turn of the century, this came across my desk about 4 years ago, and it blew me away. I was kind of having a bad day, and I started reading this, and I started thinking about the great game of football, how it separates itself, all due respect from all other sports. I'm going to read this to you. No lawyer or doctor ever approached the top of the ladder in his profession who did not love, did not have an enthusiasm in himself, constantly urging him higher. Likewise, no man can be a football player. This is where, just think of, this is the turn of the century. Think about how profound this statement is. No man can be a football player who does not love the game. Once again, all due respect to other sports. Can you really play another sport and not love it? Sure. Sure, you have a bad day in some sports, you foul out. You have a bad day in football, it's a real bad day. You're not taking care of yourself, it could be a real bad day. It's a violent, tough-ass game. Half-heartedness or lack of earnestness will eliminate any man. Think about that. We had a guy with a little half-heart. He eliminated himself. He didn't like what we were doing. We were up at 5 a.m. on 10-degree weather out there doing bear call. He made a decision. I don't like this. We try to help players make those decisions. If you don't like it, don't do it. The time to find that out is not on October 27th against Penn State, that you don't really like it. We're going to try to put guys in situations in the off-season to find out if you like it. That tells you if you got a guy that has a chance. The love of the game, maybe the most profound of all the quotes. I'm a big quote guy, but this is profound as it gets. The love of the game must be genuine. It is not devotion to a fad that makes men play football. I'll repeat that. It's not a devotion to a fad. Writing your autograph on a ball, throwing in the stands, all this self-promotion, all that. It is not devotion to a fad that makes men play football. It is because they enjoy the struggle. Football in itself is the most, if you think about what a young man goes through right now. That's why I was talking to some of the board of directors here at the Coach Association. If there's any way to get 10 days of spring football in the state of Ohio, and I'm here to help you, if we can just get that done. Because right now, other states are getting a little bit advanced because they get those 10 days. Not just to get you a better football player, but the safety element. Football is a struggle. I'm preaching to the choir. I'd love to just preach to people that really don't understand the game. Football is a struggle. You have to love the struggle, or eventually you'll be separated from the game. Hire great coaches, hire coaches of character, trust, and alignment. And that's my job as the head coach to make sure the alignment's real clear. It's also my job to make sure everybody falls in the line. Because if not, you're going to have a problem. And then the thing I told you about all the coaches I visited, all the staffs I visited, one common denominator, very successful staff that I visited, was alignment with the head football coach. You put all your agendas aside, fall in line, and if you do that, you have a chance to have a successful staff. Their genuine love of players. Whenever you converse with a coach, it's not about me or I or about your magical scheme that you teach. It usually goes right back to players. And the best coaches I've been around, immediately that conversation goes to a player and gets off that cover two, or about how they understand cover two better than anybody else. But it always goes, and I try to listen to, and I always try to listen as close as I can. The genuine love of the game and teachers and not presenters, which leads me into the next phase, teaching 101. And I'm not here to, can anybody, is that too blurry? Is there anybody that understands how to make this bigger? There we go. Is that a little better? Okay, this is just, once again, I'm just giving my experience. One experience I have over a lot of people in this room would be that I've had the ability to work with the greatest, I'll fight for them. I think the greatest assistant coaches that have ever coached the game. We've had incredible success because of great players and great coaches. And one thing that every assistant coach that I considered great, the amount of knowledge I learned from them was incredible. I'm still learning. I'm going to go sit in someone's meeting room. The advantage I have, I get to go sit in 9 different meeting rooms nonstop, going here, going here. And I sit there and take notes, not on what's exactly being taught, but not what's being taught, but how it's being taught. Because once again, how many schools right now are bench pressing? Everybody. Everybody. So I'm evaluating our strength coach. I don't really care about the bench press. We teach a fight or flight principle in our off-season program. So I'm going to evaluate our strength coach, not on bench press numbers, but when it gets tough, are they able to come through it on the other end and be tougher? Same thing with the offense. Same thing with the evaluating assistant coach. You push. It's a very evaluation friendly. I've even had pro coaches. I'll sit and study film with them. And I'll be talking to them, and it'll be the most magical clinic I've ever seen. I mean, those circles are perfect, and this is what's supposed to happen when we push play. I'm thinking, now what the shit? You just told me they're supposed to be doing this, but they're not doing that. So it goes right back, and I even ask the question, why they're not, and they go fast forward through it, and they get to the next picture on the board, but for some reason we're not seeing that execution on film. The objective of a teacher is to get the student to retain information and the skill, use the information and skill, and increase production because of the information and skill. Our style at Ohio State. Number one is going to be clear. Organized, clear objective. I'll challenge our coaches nonstop. My job, even after my year way meeting, is more clear in my mind after visiting with other coaches around the country and seeing these top shelf programs. My job is to make sure that coach is very clear. Once again, it's this or it's this. What are you asking that kid to do? And is he getting it done? So be very clear. There has to be an objective in what you're asking them to do, or don't do it. Don't do it. Next. Clean. The use of tools, tip sheets, and videos. The days of the old coach we've had to all improve as coaches. The greatest teaching tools available in the history of this sport are now available to you. It's called video, digital video, cut-ups, all the other, these great ways of teaching. The days of saying, I don't use that, are not acceptable at The Ohio State University. We're going to be on the cutting edge of every teach tool that's available. It has to be very clean. The days of the scribbled tip sheets where the kids can't read them, that's no longer exists. Concise, broken down to the smallest detail and get to the point. And then this is what makes us, I'm hoping makes us different, or separates a lot of the great teachers from not. It's the direct teaching. For example, if I ask you, can you name the 4 components of the way we expect people to teach at The Ohio State University? Can you? Okay, see, well, not the very few. I'm trying to create an environment of on edge. I want you on the edge of your seat, kind of worried you're going to get called on. That forces what? Stimulation of the brain. So direct teaching is this. What is it? What are the 4 parts? Clear, clean, concise, and direct. Okay, what are they again? Don't cheat. Don't look your ass at the board. What is it? That makes you sit in your chair and you start to get nervous about the coach is going to ask you a question. For the coach who gets on the board and sits and draws circles and teaches the board all day, and I'll sit in the back room and say, now what the hell's that? There's no teaching going on. There's presenting. It's not teaching. The difference between a teacher and a presenter is this. My sister's the provost at the University of Cincinnati. This is a great Christmas argument we've had for 20 years. I say, you're a presenter. She said, well, I'm a teacher. You're a presenter. Presenters present information and they fail people if you don't get it. Does that make sense? So if I give you information, you don't get it, I give you an F. In our profession, that's one of these. We get an F, there's a new staff comes rolling in here. So we don't present, we teach. Teach means exhaust all possible venues or resources to make sure the player knows what he's doing. For example, 2006, Chris Sleek was our quarterback in Florida. was a guy that was non-functional, had learning disabilities. We had a lot of issues with him. We get down there, he's one of those 7'5" quarterbacks, 7'6", 7'5", threw the prettiest pass I've ever seen, had pretty blue eyes, the whole deal. Couldn't learn. He couldn't learn. So their whole offense was, they look at the sideline, get the play, he wouldn't even call the play, clap his hands, wouldn't have to talk with everything. And my question is, why? He said he can't learn. Throws a very beautiful pass, he just can't learn. Dan Mullen, my quarterback coach, we knew that there was, we looked at behind him, there was not another quarterback, or it would have made a change. And this kid was tough. Mickey Marotti, our strength coach, said he's one of the toughest guys on the team. He's got it. Okay, let's be creative as a coach. We're not a presenter. That kid has to learn. Let's bring in Florida, you got all the money you want. Let's bring in 3 specialists. Okay, let's ask, why is this kid not learning? Well, we found out after about 6 months just grinding these learning specialists over and over again and doing all this research on the kid. The kid sees it, was that dyslexic? Sees it backwards. He has a very severe learning disability. He's the toughest guy there is. He works harder than anybody else. That's how he made it through school. But he can't learn from the board. I'm proud to say after 05, it took us a while to figure that thing out. The kid wins a national championship in 2006 because our meetings now went from the classroom to on the field. It was all motor learning. The kid learned fine. He's fine. He's a great learner. He doesn't learn like maybe you and I do. So that's the difference. How many professors understand that? How many people go to that deep of 6 months of just studying, trying to, this one kid has to learn what we're teaching him. We can't accept the fact that he's not able to learn on the chalkboard. Atmosphere, clean, organized environment, desk. This is something that I'm very nuts about. Desk with notebook and pencil, not pen, both feet on the ground, no hoods or hats, no cell phones obviously. On time, take a break. This is something every year. We're going to do it, I think, before spring practice. We're going to have learning specialists come in and visit with our staff. And what I've learned over the years, I used to think a kid was dumb. I would say that. I would say move on. We have to get someone else ready to go instead of really doing a good job and saying that kid is not dumb. That kid's fine. The coach is dumb because the coach sits in a 45-minute meeting without a break, and after about 15 minutes you lose that kid. So every year we try to coach our coaches on how to create the supreme, perfect teaching environment in the classroom. Once again, some are this, some are this. I've had this, for most part of my coaches are this. Because you can see it on the film, I get to sit in that meeting room and walk out there, I feel like $1 million saying, that's a coach. I got one. I got 1 in 9. I'm going to go find out this guy. Can this guy teach? Okay, no, I don't care if he looks good and he says all the right things. At the end of the day, is there direct teaching going on? Once again, the most important component of our teaching is direct. What did I just say to you? If the kid can spit it back to you, you got a chance. If he can't, you just taught yourself. You wasted a lot of time. I'll ask the kids nonstop. We'll sit in a meeting, we'll be walking out to the practice field, and I'll say, now when your coach is in there talking about that, if he looks at me like I got 5 heads, it's not the kid's fault. It's the, I would call it presenter's fault. He didn't teach. We just wasted 45 minutes. He didn't teach. So I go back to that coach and let's evaluate the way you're teaching. Your guys aren't playing real good. You told me you're going to hold the ball high and tight, wrist above the elbow, and you're going to elbow lock it. For some reason, coach, your guys are not doing that. And it's not acceptable to say that effing kid. No, that's the whoa. That effing coach. That's your job. That's your responsibility. If that kid can spit it back at you. Also, Bill Belichick and I, every year comes down, we spend time together. He always wants to talk about empty pass protection. He's just a football nut. I always ask him, how do you know your team's ready? That was my question to him over and over again. It'll be right in our team meeting room, the special team meeting room, especially. It's going to be when your team knows what they're doing, but more importantly, why they're doing it. Think about what I just said. That's profound now. Not only what they're doing, well, I'm going to block the B gap. I'm an offensive line, I'll block the B gap. On the tackle, I'll block the B gap and backside back, whatever that rule. Why are you doing that? Because it's a gap scheme. We're trying to wash everything down, kick out, and hit an A gap power. I'll just give you an example. If he knows why you're doing a big picture teaching, you have a better chance of that guy achieving or getting his job done because he understands the big picture. So once again, when is your team ready to go? When they know what they're doing, but more importantly, why they're doing it. Now I'm going to stimulate your thoughts a little bit. How do you know that a kid knows why he's doing it? Ask him. Stand his ass up. Give him a chalk, give him a marker, and say, get up to the board and show us why we're doing this. You talk about stimulating a meeting room, stimulating a teaching environment. The great ones I've been around are as good as I've ever seen at doing that. I've had others that are very average at it. Direct teaching is the most important component to to create a learning environment. Full engagement, direct teaching, which we talked about. Teacher moves around the room. I don't want to coach. I had to talk to a couple of them where they sit their fat ass in the back of the room and they watch videotape. That will not exist in Ohio State. You're going to see this constant movement, constant talking. Do you understand what I'm talking about right here? We have to get this done. We have to get this done. Do you understand? Here's a truck and the guy's coaching, moving around. Those are the best teachers I've been around. Bottom line, every action, you've heard this before, I think it's a great statement, every action either taught or allowed, good and bad. Teacher, present, test, functionality. That's how I evaluate the teachers. Do they present, do they test the kids on it, which is direct teaching, and the functionality of the young man doing his job. Presenters, first presenter hopes all works out. Teachers, obviously, make sure it works out. Teaching objective, to get the student to retain information and ability to use it. Teaching environment. Students need stimulation. On edge is our style. So you as a coach, hopefully you're sitting here. I apologize if we're going to talk about spread offense or something, but here's what I tell you, and for myself. If what you're doing is working, if you're really proud of what you do, when you are the linebacker coach at Ohio State, you push play. That somebody doesn't have wasted movement. He's in a football position. He's a great tackler because he closes grass, accelerates through, puts his hand across the ball, wraps up, buys up football. All the things important for the linebacker play. If he does that, carry on, move forward, and keep enhancing who you are. If what you push play it's not what you're teaching, you have to blow the whole thing up. Don't wait. Something's not right. And that's where you got to take the ego, put it aside and say, no, wait a minute, that's not working. It's not the kid. You'll never hear in our staff room, I better never hear that. That damn kid didn't do this. That damn kid didn't do this. Stop it. Ooh. That kid better start doing that. Because you're a teacher, you're not a presenter. And that's where the pressure gets on that coach. Once again, on-edge teaching and on-edge coaching. Like this is Steve Adazio, a great friend of mine, who's now the head coach at Temple. So I bring, I think it was Tim Beckman. Tim Beckman and I, when I first get hired at Bowling Green, we're going to put in the punt. Punt formation. It's not the spread punt we use now, it's the traditional punt where you vertical set, kick back, 3 kicks, and press out, no deal. So just tell you this real quick story. Content, of what a kid learns, the content's 20%. You're going to get, I mean, it's 20%. How do you get that into someone's mind is more important. It's the delivery, it's the passion, it's the guy moving around, it's the teaching tools, it's the ability after 15 minutes to get them up stretch, wake them up, tell a joke, whatever, stimulate the teaching environment. Sit in a warm room, guys sit in the back of the room and some coach up there teaching his ass off and no one's paying attention. That's called presenting. Steve Adazio, we go visit him at Notre Dame. So Steve, we're going to put in your punt. I mean, he's the best I've ever heard teach a punt. We don't do it anymore, but I mean, he's the best I've ever heard teach him. Okay, and he wants a vertical kick, and I forget which hand he put up. It really didn't matter. Tim Beckman says, well, coach, we did it this way. And Steve's like, I don't give a shit which way you did it. This is the way we do. I'm on a Saturday morning, I'm away from my family, I'm spending time with you. Here's the way we do it, it works. And he's showing us, and Tim, you know, Tim's a great football coach, very persistent. He said, but coach, we do it this way, don't you think? And finally, he puts his glasses on and I says, listen. He said, I don't give a shit the way you do it. This is the way we do it. It worked. And I mean, I started going after him a little bit. I was like sitting back there going, I don't really care which hand you punch with. My point is this. It's the delivery of that message. Guess which way we did it? The way that the guy took, you know, he's so passionate about it. So my point is this. It's not just the content. It's not slipping. Alex Smith told me, he's the quarterback of the Niners. His biggest frustration with the 49ers for so many years was they would take a big book out, the West Coast, Bill Walsh right on the top of it. Said Bill Walsh, they open it up, slide out an overlay, put it on and say, now we need to do this. And he wasn't used to that. Dan Mullen was his coach. Dan Mullen was passionate about this is what we're going to do, why we're going to do it, direct teaching and get it done. He needs to be taught like that. So it's not just the content. If it was the content, everybody do the same stuff. It's the delivery, the passion, the way that coach moves around the teaching environment. In that room is what's the difference. So what, Coach Meyer, what have you gained over the last 10 years of being a head football coach? The spread out, the shovel pass? No. No. The ability to watch the greatest teachers, maybe in the history of the game, teach. And I can go through their names. I have 11 guys that are, I told you this, 11 guys that are head coaches. Why? Because of the spread offense, because of 4-3 versus 3-4, or sometimes they play quarter, sometimes it's sky, sometimes it's cloud. You know, every once in a while we're in a corner blitz. Okay, is it because of that shit? No, it's because of the passion with which they teach. It's because I am so committed not to the spread offense. I don't care what we run. I really don't. I kind of like it, especially with Braxton Miller. But what I am committed to is making sure that your young football player steps in the meeting room, it's intense. I mean, it's on edge. I don't want him sitting back in a chair like this. I don't want his feet on the table because there's going to be an eraser come flying at you if I see that. It's a guy sitting on edge, absorbing everything. Then after about 15 minutes, just shake it off, get a rinse. Coach has some fun with him. Bam, you're at it again. You'll see production on the field. Once again, it's evaluation friendly. What's that mean? It's either that or it's that. At Ohio State, that is not acceptable. It has to be that. But coach, that's it. If not, get rid of that play. We can't do it then. I don't want to hear about what you used to do with this school and all that. At the end of the day, can your guy do that? If he can, move forward, enhance. If not, blow the whole thing up. How am I doing on time here? Okay, I want 10 minutes? Okay, here, I want to get to this real fast. I apologize, guys. I just want to jump around. What's that? You got to be out of your 8:30. Oh, I think so. All right, here we go. This is a term that you'll hear quite often. And it's absolute plagiarism from one of the great coaches, one of the guys that I study a great deal. And it's John Wooden, the great basketball coach at UCLA. He uses the term competitive greatness in his pyramid of success. And so when I became head coach of Bowling Green the night before, I'm just sitting there for about 7 hours and talking to Lou Holtz on the phone and Earl Bruce, and I would sit there and I had a wad of papers stacked up behind me because I would say, okay, how am I going to approach this team and what am I going to do? And my first team meeting and what are we going to be known for? I don't want to be a program that has sayings all over the wall that don't mean shit. I don't want to walk in there and see 75 incredible sayings, but when I ask a player and say, hey, tell me what that means, he looks at me and what does what mean? That's, once again, that's presenting, that's not teaching. The one thing that will be taught over and over and over in our program is competitive excellence. Competitive excellence is this. At the end of the day, when that number is called to go make that play, are you ready? Are you ready? And it's not because you wore that secret t-shirt you've been wearing since your sophomore year in high school. It's not because you ate a certain donut before you went, or some good luck, you rub the ball guy's head, or you keep a rabbit's foot in your pocket. We have to eliminate that thought. Unfortunately, there's a lot of that in athletics. It's going to work out because I said my prayer before I went. I'm in this. I say prayers too. That's all good. I'm not saying that's negative. What I'm saying is, if you get your team and your coaching staff aligned together, Belichick always does this to me. It's always going back and forth like this. If you get everybody aligned, the minute you have this, you got problems. How does a team like the New England Patriots go take a Randy Moss? How in the hell does that happen? And it works. Because the core is so strong. You can take a peripheral guy. Same thing I'm going to hope with our program. The core is so strong. The alignment is so strong. Because we all believe in the same things. Competitive excellence is the basis of who we are. One of the great quotes by Michael Jordan, right down here, I'll paraphrase it for you. It's underlined. I practice hard enough that the games are often easier. Our Tuesday practices are the most miserable practices you've ever gone through. Our coach, it's full pads, it's inside drill, it's stop the run. You're going to block the hardest looks on offense, the offensive line. You're going to look like shit because we're twisting the odd front, all that other stuff. It's going to be so miserable because we're going to try to prepare you for the hardest looks. The coach, the player, the head coach, the trainer, the managers, and the strength coach, I don't want to feel good after Tuesday. You have to feel bad before you feel good. You have to give them the hard stuff. So if the hard stuff hits in the game, you're at competitive excellence. You've done that. So what's the foundation of Ohio State football? Competitive excellence. At the end of the day, what are we? We're going to train our kids so hard that when their number's called, they'll be able to execute at a very high level. Here's how we're going to do it. Game reps and mental reps. Okay? One of the things that really bothered me about Braxton Miller, I'm going to say that, I don't care. I was up in the booth watching the game for ESPN. I'm down there watching future Ohio State football. The quarterback standing there without headsets on. During the play, he was looking. I caught him a few times. I'm supposed to be watching him. I don't care about all that stuff. I'm watching that quarterback. Saying, what the hell is he doing? That's one of the greatest players in America in high school, and he's not watching the game. You can't believe in competitive excellence if you do that. If you're that kid's doing, I'm gonna say that you can't expect a kid to perform at a high level. You can't say, son, you're in the game now. That's your fault as a coach. He's not ready. That damn kid's 18 years old. So there's two types of reps that get you at competitive excellence. There's mental reps, and there's game reps. Unfortunately, there's not enough time. We don't have 20 hours a day with a player like the pros. So a lot of times the kid, a lot of times has to get what kind of rep? What kind of rep? Mental rep. Mental rep. Is a mental rep as good as a game rep? Pretty damn close. If you get a real guy, like a real man that loves the game of football, I'll see the offensive line back there, working the twos, working their zone steps. The slap asses are sitting back over the side getting drinks of water, and then the coach gets kind of greased on the field pretty good because his guys aren't getting their mental reps during each rep. You have about 16 reps during a team versus skelly or a team versus scout in a 10-minute period if we're going on tempo. If you can't get that backup guard, you can't get him a game rep. There's nothing like a game rep, but there's nothing like a mental rep. You can't get a mental rep if you force those kids to learn. So once again, what's the big picture of all this? Competitive excellence. When that kid's number is called, he's ready to go. How do you do that? Mental reps first. Game reps if you can against every possible Okay, teaching progression. And this might sound simplistic, and I apologize. What it made me think is I was sitting right on the plane last spring and just going through the teaching progression because I got, once again, I had the ability, I'm so fortunate to work with the greatest assistant coaches of all time. And this past spring, I got to go sit in meeting rooms. It was unbelievable. I just sat in there, I walk out, and I evaluate every coach. I said, that sucked. That was awful. And I walk in another and say, wow, I'm ready to go. And that was as good a presentation as I've ever, and I don't care what the material was. Content had nothing to do with it. It was a presentation, the meeting room, the teaching environment that was presented to the players and presented to me. All right, here we go. Before a kid is ready to make a play, before that kid is ready to be asked in front of 107,000 people and 20 million on TV to make a play, this is our approach. And everybody will be held accountable to this. You have to install in the meeting room, in a direct teaching environment. You have checkers, you have video, whatever the creative teachers, Jeff Tedford, I remember asking him about coaching quarterbacks, and I think he's a tremendous coach. He has checkers for his quarterbacks all the time. And they sit there because it goes back to that motor learning, right? That's direct teaching. That's forcing that kid to use something instead of sitting on his fat ass like this and not really starting to think about his girlfriend or whatever. He's actively involved in a teaching environment. So checkers, our coaches are all ordering checkers for our coaches to use them. Some guys do, some guys don't. Unfortunately, I push play sometimes and their guys aren't playing very well, so I have to mandate it because they're not getting it done. That's another way of motor skill teaching. Direct teaching, we talked about the ability of the student to repeat the job detail or concept. You have to teach the teacher. So this is the progression before you ask a kid to go make a play. So if that kid does not make a play in practice, that's my job as a head coach to go back and evaluate, say, was this properly installed? Did we get the kid an opportunity to learn direct teach? Number 3 is walkthrough. So we're going to go install on the board. We're going to go direct teaching where he has to be able to spit it back at you. Then you go on the field or in the meeting room and you walk through. Teach the proper details, spacing, alignments, reactions, etc. Body learn, your body, now we're into the body learning. You just got through the mental learning. You got through the most important part of mental learning is what? Direct part. I hope you leave here with that. I have. I've learned so much from that direct. When that kid can spit it back at me, we're close. Now, can he not only spit it back at me, can he do it? And I'm not talking full speed yet. You're not ready. You're not ready. And then you go put him in an environment he's not ready, he doesn't have success. What are you dealing with now? A whole different animal. What's that called? Lack of confidence. Now you're screwed. And that's the coach's fault. Put that kid in an environment where he's not ready. And I see that with quarterbacks all the time. Let's throw this at him. Let's do it. What are you talking about? Throw that at him. And all of a sudden now the kid's lost confidence. It takes a year and a half to get his confidence back because he wasn't properly taught. Number 4, this is a new term we came up with about 2 years ago. All right, individual. Mike Leach is a certified nut job. Everybody knows Mike Leach, right? He's a certified, great friend of mine, out of his damn mind. I mean, weird. Never played as an attorney, genius kind of guy. I learned so much from him 2 years ago. I had him come up and speak to our staff. We're not going to do what he does in offense. You don't believe it. I mean, it's the most bizarre shit you've ever seen. However, what I did learn from him, this is amazing. is he spends all his time, he's not going to change what he does. We're going to throw it almost every down, right? Some people do that. Throw it every down. He believes that more importantly than practice is videotaping every assistant coach's drill tape over, and that's all he does. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he started talking about, you know, he makes his guys go through first developer. He does a couple, this is our turn. Developers, what's a developer? I'm a receiver coach, number one coming off the ball, right? D-line coach, number one coming off the ball. You have to block in a football position every day. That's called the developer. That's the fundamental to your spot. So you're the head coach in high school right now. What I would do is make sure your assistant coaches tell you exactly what the developers are. That means every day. If you're a linebacker coach and you don't work on tackling, you are not a very good linebacker coach. That's the most fundamental skill. You have to teach that. Any position on defense, you have to teach tackling. We're going to teach it better than anybody. I don't know if it's going to look that way, but we're going to spend a lot of time because that's a developer. You can't. I want one of those coaches that can't go to sleep at night knowing that he didn't get that 4 minutes in of stock blocking, because that's a developer. The minute you don't work on a developer, you can see fundamentally it's a breakdown in that kid's position. Does that make sense? Developer. Then you go from developer to specific. Okay, now we taught you how to turn and go from speed to power and get in football position. Okay, now our kickoff return, the right tackle, right guard, we're going to do a lot of double teams. So this week we're going to work on a specific. What is that? The double team. Not a big group environment. Individual now. We're still an individual. So we've gone from what first? Development, developer. A developer of a ball carrier at Ohio State will be absolute maniacal teaching of ball security. Every day that will be taught. That's not a Tuesday. One time I had a visiting coach come in, and I was at Utah, and he came in and he started talking about punt, all this shit we're talking, and he says, we have something called Turnover Tuesday. I said, tell me about that. And he says, every Tuesday we emphasize turnovers. I was like, shit, what a great idea. I'm like writing that down on my hand. I was like, well, tell me about it. So we get points here, and the coaches really teach it, and they're going on and on. And I'm like so excited about it, and they leave. Their staff leaves, and so I'm going to go to our staff. I help Kyle Whitney have some really good coaches on his staff. And so the dumbass I am, what do? I can walk and say, hey, what do you guys think about Turnover Tuesday? We're going to emphasize on Tuesday turnovers. And they're looking at Whittingham's, they're going to be like, dumbass, what are you talking about? We emphasize that every second of our lives. My point is this, you get what you emphasize. If it's a developer, if it's something you believe in, I don't know, you guys got your own programs. For us to come in and stand in front of a team, imagine this for a minute. I got 85 guys, and I sit there and preach about turnovers, playing to win, da-da-da-da-da. And I come in and say, okay, on Tuesday, on every Tuesday, what about the other 5 days we're practicing? But every Tuesday, we're going to really concentrate on turnovers. If I'm a kid that has any sense at all, I'm going to say, what are you talking about? So we only work on it that one day. I'm not talking about turnovers, I'm just saying about when you have as a position coach, or the head coach, or a unit coach, or your coordinator, you get what you emphasize. You have developers, and then you move to the more job specific, which we call specifics. So once again, this is progress to get the kid to competitive excellence. So we're on the practice field. So we went through the teaching, install. How do you install? You can't install until that kid can spit it back at you. Once he can spit it back at you, where do you go? Mastery. Anybody know? Let's go through it again. I just want to make sure everybody's not locked in here. We're fully engaged. Number one thing is you install. You put it on the board, like everybody, right? Donald Duck can do that. So you did it. It's on the board. Now what do you do? The kid has to what? He has to be able to spit it back. You did teach. You just presented, which you are no value. You are now officially a presenter, not a teacher. Once the kid can spit it back at you, what do you have to do now? You have to get his body involved, right? So how do you do that? It's walkthroughs. It's walkthroughs. It's walkthroughs. Get this mechanical learning where he's learning how to do it. Okay, now we walk through. Everybody does that. Now we go to the practice field. We go to the practice field. And the first part you have to do is what in the practice field? Developers. That's the fundamental part of your position group. And it's constantly evaluated by myself and by our position coach. I've already had great conversation with a couple of guys on our staff. A lot of guys are new. And I asked them, and a guy made a comment to me, he's been coaching 30 years. You know what he said to me? I'm going to change some of my individual drills. I'm going to change them. I go, why? Because you made us think. And I driven that drill for 22 years. You know what? We don't play that coverage anymore. So why the shit am I doing that drill? Because I saw the Broncos do it, or because I saw what? How does that fit to your to the alignment of the, remember this? The alignment of your program. So you go from developers to where? Specifics. Now we're getting the job descriptions. Now we're saying exactly what we expect you to do. And what's the ultimate goal? Why are we going through that? What's the ultimate goal of this whole thing? Anybody? What do we got? What do we got? Competitive excellence. And what is that? When the number's called, that kid can make that play. And not one of those, shit, it was that close, man. He almost had it. Yeah, he almost got it because you son of a bitch, you didn't work on it enough. It's not the kid's fault. Did that quarterback throw that ball enough in practice? Did he throw it where the 5 technique theory, he had to reset his feet and throw it? Did you do that as a developer or specific? Did we do that? And that's going back to Mike Leach, the nut job of all his bizarre stuff. As good as that. How does he win? That's not by chance. He is as good as I've ever seen in development and specifics that I've ever witnessed. He actually believes, I'll ask you, the bench in the corner route, outside leverage man coverage, the way we had this discussion probably 6,000 to 7,000 times. I don't believe that you can throw that hitch in a corner route against outside hard man coverage. He says, bullshit, you can throw that. I said, no, you can't. So you can imagine the competition we had. Good thing we're engaged with not love it or the hell it's called. Because I want it. His comment is this: if you throw that enough, and the guy running the corner route, if it's high shoulder, if low ball, throw the ball low and away and complete the pass. And I'm sitting there listening to him. You're right. You're right. How about if you get over the top and you throw one of these, right? His point is they don't run the ball. We're working on, so I came back, I evaluated, which is my job. I came back and said, I agree with him 100%. But we're not going to do that because we do, we don't just throw the balls 87 times. We're going to run, we're going to do some options, some other stuff. So we don't have time to do that. My point is, he has a firm belief in developers and specifics over and over, as good as I've ever witnessed in my coaching career. All right, we're gone through practice now. Now we're in the group work. That's the middle part of practice. So if you come to our practice, like a lot of teams, it's going to be developers, it's going to be specifics, and now we're in the group work. And group work is Coach Fickle's going to take the linebackers, the rough ends, whatever it is, you're going to do a little mini field, right? You're going to take the receivers, you're going to work stop blocking, the 3-man side, 3-man surface, you're going to do cover 2, throw slants, whatever. It's group work. It's quarterbacks and receivers working together. So we're now into that phase. So we're developing this player for competitive excellence. Next phase. You're in the scout work. Now you're going to do it all together. Now it's instead of part whole, instead of part, we're now into the whole. You're going to feel the break in the huddle, go on the line of scrimmage. Not in a live environment, because they're not ready. And they're not ready, then what happens if you put them in a competitive environment and they're not ready? What happens? And they fail, and they lose. Now you're dealing with the whole, now we got to get psychiatrists involved, and we got to call moms and girlfriends and buy dinners for people and all, because now you're dealing with a whack job, right? Like we all are. That kid is now screwed up. Why? Because we screwed him up. That kid was not prepared to go into that environment. In scout work, that's a teach tempo, we say. We're teaching. Coaches teaching and all that. Coaches teaching. Coaches teaching. We're not in the game rep yet. Not in the game rep, so we're in the scout work. Now, eyes change colors. Coaches change colors. Language might get a little more intense. Hey, coaches, all of a sudden, you start going up and you see offensive line coaches and D-line coaches kind of getting after each other. Linebacker coach yelling to the quarterback. Everybody, now you're in the mini arena, which is offense versus defense. You are officially in a game rep. We are preparing you for competitive excellence in the arena. How do we do that? We get it in a mini arena before we get to the big arena. So when you get to the big one, you're ready to go. Now it's offense versus defense. Game reps, and that's where the good coaches, not the shitty coaches. Good coaches. What do the good coaches do? Where are the twos at during game reps? Come on, where's the twos at? Where's your backups? What are they doing? Where are they? Where they're picking each other's ass over there? Where are they? They're right behind them. Where's the safeties at? The safeties are with the safety coach. What are they doing? They're getting a mental rep of playing a deep half against 3 up on you. 2 up on you, right? Those are the good quality coaches that are getting that mental rep. Is a mental rep as good as a game rep? No. Is it close? Absolutely. During a game, I'll watch that. I have other people watch it for me. What are they doing? What's that backup Mike doing? Backup Mike linebacker doing? If he's well coached. Where is he? He's right next to his coach. What's called? Okay, I got the call. Okay, I see number 3's here's cover 2. I got a match. Whatever it is. He's getting that mental rep, so when it's time to go, he's at competitive excellence. And then the final piece of the puzzle is obviously now it's time showtime. I once was on the staff one time when the head coach got up there and said, no mistakes, no self-inflicted mistakes. I'm sitting back there and go, wow, no mistakes. I agree, I hope there's no mistakes. What about, hey, let's rip the chains off your ass and you go play as hard as you can. You let this shit ride. I mean, you go. We've trained our entire life for this moment. You are officially at competitive excellence. You are ready. No mistakes. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Make every mistake you want. Point A to point B as fast as you go, 4 to 6 seconds, relentless effort, and go play. Because you've been in every possible environment. I'm getting chills thinking about that. You get the players looking at you like, I'm ready. I'm ready. Not, oh shit. What if they play cover 2 in this play? I better not have it. Because that's a failure on who? The coach. Not the 18-year-old. That has to go to class. That has issues at home. That has drinking, whatever. That has all these human element issues. That's a whole other story. Where a coach gets paid money to be a teacher, not a presenter. You're going to teach your guy. So when the ball snaps, when that ball turns over, you are going 4 to 6 seconds. That's a big term around our place. 4 to 6 seconds. As hard as you go. Not one time will I hear a guy on our staff or me say, don't make a mistake. Make all the damn mistakes you can, but I'll tell you what, you get there in a hurry. You get there in a hurry, and when you get there, be a little pissed. Because you train over and over and over again. I apologize for having to rush out on you. I wish I could, I think I get fined or something if I don't go. If I stay with you. The answer is yes. Anything else here? The Michael Jordan quote is something you're going to see all over our facility. We're going to get rid of it. We're just going to have a couple of quotes. And the Michael Jordan quote, I'm going to read it to you guys. I just love this quote. And he was a monster as a player. I hear people start comparing him to other people. They're out of the damn line. This guy did. If you practice the way you play, there shouldn't be any difference. That's why I practice so hard. Here's the greatest basketball player of all time saying, it's not like that one guy. Remember the one guy said, why do I have to practice? So anything was possible once the game started. Everything we did in practice became competitive. I took pride. How about that? I mean, is it really, what else do you have to say to a young guy that has this little bit of a issue with trying to be the best, right? How about the last part of that? I took pride in the way I practiced. Go team, ready to go now, right? Everybody says that. Let's go, let's go. You'll be doing this soon someday. If we just do that. Don't worry about style of offense. Don't worry how many times you touch the ball. Worry about competitive excellence. Michael Jordan said it. And he's, okay, decent player. He said it. As a matter of fact, I got proof he said it. Here's a quote. It's on the board right there. Reminders. Every phase of teaching for competitive excellence includes, this is really cool, it's said this recently, is a clear objective. That's all. When we get back in the month of February, I'm going to walk in the defense room and say, Luke, what's the objective here? We always have a cone at every drill. Why do you think? At the end of the drill. Why? Finish. I'd sit there, it's bizarre stuff, and I see some coaches, one guy runs through like this, the other's like, God, they go across the line. I'd blow this and say, where are we going? What are we doing here? What's the objective? Well, we're going through the cones. Bullshit, you don't go through the cones. Are you competing here? What's the objective? If it's to win, call a winner or a loser. Put the cone down. Who won? You won, you lost. Next time, don't lose. That's why we do this. Or don't do it. It's real simple. Don't come out here. Don't do that unless you have an objective. Number 2 is clear expectation by the teacher, which is a challenge to all of us. Number 3 is concise. What's concise mean? Broken down to the smallest point, which foot you're stepping on, where's your hand placement, how you want to attack it, and then finally the finish, which we just talked about. Tools. Teacher is responsible for providing a toolbox to the student athlete to complete his job description. I apologize for rushing through that. To say that I'm excited to be the head coach at Ohio State is absolute understatement. I'm so freaking jacked, that's all I remember life. I carried a Buckeye one time we had to play against Ohio State in my pocket. That's how strong I feel about this place. I still remember the first day I saw the Scarlet jerseys, and Rick Spangler was a kicker from Geneva, Ohio. And I wasn't worth the shit, so I couldn't play Ohio State. So I came down one day to watch a game, and they had a track. Remember the track around the stadium? And I walked down there, and I was like, he came up to me, the game was almost over, and you could actually walk down there. And I walked, and I was kind of weird. And I grabbed his jersey, like, holy shit, you're wearing a Scarlet? Great, man. You're doing it. I get a chance last year, my first game as a big-time broadcaster, which I wasn't, is to do the Ohio State Akron game. I'm sitting up there, and Spielman's sitting next to me, and I'm kind of nervous. I mean, not that anybody's listening, but I'm going to have to talk about this stuff. And all of a sudden, that freaking stadium goes quiet. I hear the PA announcer say, the Ohio State marching band. And those guys came through that tunnel, and I'm sitting wiping tears out of my eyes and thinking, holy balls. I haven't been back there since 1988. And now to stand here in front of the best high school coaches in the country, to be able to say that our program is your program, I'm humbled to do that. And I have an obligation. You're going to hear, we don't have a lot of mission statements. Our job is one thing, to make the great state of Ohio proud. So everything we do, everything, recruiting, well, we're pissed because you went after guys committed. Yep. And you know what? I got 9 guys, you better go do it again. Do a little harder next time. Do a little harder. Because our job is to make the great state of Ohio proud. How do we do that? It doesn't, no chance without us doing it together. So when you have a question, yes, you can. The answer is yes, you can. Come down, open doors, talk football. Coach, can you stay late? Yeah, you can. If I can't, these guys can. Absolutely, the answer is yes. Last thing before I go, this thought I had jogging around the other day. How can we be different? Not because of Tim Hint's picture. We're going to start a newsletter. And I've talked to some friends of mine that are high school coaches in the state. What does everybody want with your program, your state school, your place? You want access and you want relationship. So we're going to do the best we can. Relationship, and how do we get access? The answer is yes. If you can't reach us once a week, we get a newsletter. And it's not going to be a newsletter to Indiana, to the place, some other places. It's going to be a newsletter to you guys, the state association. And it's going to be and I'm going to take input from you guys. What is it? It's going to be just input about your players, information about your players, about our program. Dates coming up. You simply push, I even do it, I'll make you push email, and it's coming every Monday. Or I think we're going to do it every Thursday. Later in the week, it's going to be information about the state playoffs. It's going to be all about the state of Ohio and High School Coaches Association. The board of directors, I talked to them about it, they're go with it. We actually have a logo right here with the state association logo right here. We're going to talk about the players from the state of Ohio. We'll give you information so you're proud. You can use it with your football team. And then if you have input, you call Greg, you call Mark Bantoni, you call me and say, you know what we'd like even more? I understand we're going to put a video link on it. Where's Stacy at? Is that your statement? Okay, get it done. We're going to have a video link, or maybe you want to watch a drill or whatever you want. You get back to Greg, Coach, this is what we want. I told you, what's the answer? Yes. We're going to do it. Okay? Let's make this greatest state of Ohio even greater. I appreciate your time. Have a great day. Thank you.
Was worried about how he was coming